Mediane, Mediane Europe for Diversity Inclusiveness. Mediterranean Europe has been especially affected by the economic crisis. At the outset of the crisis, there was considerable media coverage about Greece. However, other countries were in a similar situation, which still continues to be unsustainable. Spain and Italy are two examples of how the crisis affects the day-to-day lives of their citizens, who find themselves unemployed, without a roof over their heads, and suffering cuts in services and reduction in the level of assistance. The cuts have had the highest impact in the areas of health and education, leaving a great part of the population at risk of exclusion. In spite of this, the number of immigrants have increased in both countries. Spain and Italy are destinations of choice for people who leave their countries due to economic or political reasons. In Spain, women make up almost half the immigrant population, while in Italy they make up more than half. How do these women live? How do they organize themselves to claim their social rights? And how do they express their solidarity towards each other? How has their stay in Italy and Spain changed with the crisis? Those are some of the questions we have asked ourselves. Pilar is Peruvian and she lives in Italy since 1994. She left her country for political reasons. She is the president of NODI, Nostri Diritti, Our Rights. The diversity of countries these women come from enriches the project. Their strength come from the Philippines, Latin America, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Maghreb.
Nosotros somos una asociación de mujeres inmigrantes.
We are an association of female immigrants. The members are women who had already had some experience and commitment to women in their own country before immigrating.
De compromiso, se puede decir, con mujeres en su propio país.
The association's aim is to promote migrant and refugees' women's rights. We have found an organization in Madrid which has the same aim as NODI, the network of Latin American and Caribbean women living in Spain. Marisol, one of its members, talks about it. In 2010, we gathered together a group of female immigrants and we said, we are going to talk about our own problems and not have Spanish women lending their voice to talk about our problems. We also have a voice and can talk. We came together to become stronger, to empower ourselves, to learn. Immigrants' women's work is one of the main areas of concern for both the Italian and Spanish organizations. Most women who approach the network of Latin American and Caribbean women living in Spain earn their living as domestic workers and they are looking for support to improve their working conditions.
En el año 2011 hicimos el encuentro de trabajadoras del servicio doméstico y había habido un cambio.
In 2011, we held our first meeting on domestic work. There had been a change in the law here in Spain, which to some degree placed them on the same level as other workers under the general work regime, and we had to talk about it, publicize it, and evaluate it. At this meeting on domestic work, we saw the need for advocacy on the issue of domestic work, where 90% of workers are women.
90% son mujeres.
The volunteers' education level is high in both organizations. This helps them give better services to women, from training courses to legal advice, as well as help for women victims of domestic violence and fight against infibulation.
Hemos hecho todo un trabajo, por ejemplo, 2-3 años hemos trabajado sobre la infibulación y hemos decidido hacer campañas de información.
For example, during the last 2 or 3 years, we have been working on female genital mutilation awareness and have decided to run an information campaign, to make a video, publish materials in several languages. We have worked extensively with the San Camilo Hospital, etc., etc. And finally, we have really focused on violence, because in the end, all the women that used our services could have solved their situations with other organizations, but that was not the case of those women who were survivors of gender-based violence. And this is not because they are not professional. They are. It's because part of the complaint about the violence is related to someone who can truly understand the situation. This is not a matter of language. You can speak the same language, but people will only understand your situation if they want to do so. It is necessary to put yourself in someone else's shoes. If you have empathy, you do so. Even if the other person is speaking Chinese and you can't speak Chinese. Well, these are everyday situations because this is a city, not because it is Rome, but because it is a European capital, which is very large, that is multi-ethnic, where there are so many gray areas, and there is a lot of violence in the city. But worse than that, couples and families live terrible violent situations, ranging from physical to mental abuse. This is also about the supremacy men are sure to have.
No sé, también esta omnipotencia, ¿no? Que los hombres están seguros de tener.
Both Nodi and the network of Latin American and Caribbean women living in Spain have been supported by public funding in the past, but the economic crisis have led to the cease of funding. Therefore, these organizations have been forced to reorganize their financial structure. In the case of the Spanish network, one of the consequences has been to reduce their workforce. Nodi now entirely relies on volunteering.
Son qui per buttarci fuori di città. Sono tutti in fila lì per sei, però non sono mica amici miei. Sono venuti tutti qui per noi, ma guarda che adunata di cowboy. Di qui non uscirò, questa casa non la mollerò.
One of the most significant problems that affect citizens in this economic climate is housing. The right of social supported housing has been overlooked by the majority of countries members of the EU, especially in Rome and in Spain, affecting immigrated people the most. In Spain, the immigrated population's presence in the claim for a house is not prominent yet, although its numbers are rising. In Rome, in contrast, the presence of people from other countries is quite prominent in this struggle. These organizations work and promote several actions: house occupations, active actions against evictions, social housing applications. We met Fanida. She is Moroccan. She is 44 years old and lives in Rome. She is spending most of her time in the Italian capital helping with the struggle.
I
was helped by another committee whose members told me, "Why don't you take part in the coordination group?" Why not? I started participating in the coordination group meetings. I wanted to satisfy my growing interest for Italian politics, talking with people. In Morocco, we have a king, and don't talk about such things. Now it is different, but in the past, you couldn't talk about politics at all. If you just mentioned it, they put you in jail. I was fascinated by the idea of being able to talk freely, to express all your ideas. I tried to compare images from Morocco with the ones of Italy, talking with people who have other cultures about politics both in their countries and in Italy. I've understood that you can go on fighting, although it is not easy. Both the Italian and Spanish governments are trying to repress this movement through criminal charges and detentions. They are also dramatically limiting the possibility for people of getting a decent housing. An example, the Renzi government has denied electricity suppliers contracts and other similar services to those who are occupying empty houses as a protest. Despite of all the obstacles laid by the government, the movements keep on claiming their basic rights.
Di qui non uscirò, questa casa non la mollerò.
Not all women are able to organize themselves. Hanan is also from Morocco, and she has 3 children and would like to join a group. Although she has grown up in Spain, she has not been able to find one yet. Hanan is unemployed and has no benefits for the care of her children. During the last 4 years, she has been coping with the situation thanks to her parents' help. She feels that there is a rising discrimination towards foreign people with the economic crisis.
La crisis ha cogido más marroquíes
The crisis has a stronger impact on the Moroccan community because of religious issues raised by the attacks that took place earlier, and because of that, there is certain reluctance towards Moroccan people. I had a co-worker who had a strange attitude towards me because of the issue of bomb attacks.
Manía por el tema de los atentados.
As all the interviewees tell us, many migrants are going back to their homeland or moving to other countries, in Italy and even more in Spain. Pilar tells us about it.
Varios maridos están regresando.
Many husbands are going back to their homeland because here they don't have any job, and just women stay because their children go to school here, and they are evaluating the situation, trying to understand if they are going to leave too. In other cases, many families are receiving relatives, for example from Spain, because their situation was even worse. However, those who stay keep themselves busy.
El año pasado, con ocasión de la crisis,
Last year, during the crisis, we decided to organize a meeting to see how migrant women are facing the crisis. It was attended by 100 women who traveled from different regions of Spain, and we gathered information during the workshops and focused with problems with health services, as due to the crisis, women who lost their employment couldn't renew their residence permit and were facing some pretty complicated situations. Then, we should work and demand that healthcare is available for all, including those who don't have access to a health insurance card. Another proposal that arose during the meeting was to generate some entrepreneurial initiatives among women, such as the creation of workers' cooperative societies.
cooperativas, para generar algunas iniciativas emprendedoras entre las mujeres.
History teaches us that times of crisis leave spaces for discriminations. This time is not an exception, as Hanan tells us. If you wear the hijab, employers are more reluctant to hire. During the time I wasn't wearing the hijab, I found it was easier to find work. And once I started wearing it at work, people changed their attitude. Marisol agrees.
Todavía las políticas de integración.
There aren't integration policies in Spain yet. Spain is a country where xenophobic attitudes are commonplace. We feel it and live with it, and we all say it.
Todas lo decimos.
And in Italy, the situation is similar. And then suddenly everything has changed. It's not like once anymore. Rip-offs everywhere. You have to be smart to get where you want in an office. For example, at the Social Security Service, for your rights, to get the legal disability rights, or a statement of account. At the job center, there are some jobs they don't give you. They don't give them to Arabs. They don't give them to Muslims. There is a general feeling of a sneaky racism, either on public transportation, either walking on the streets. Maybe when I came here, I did not notice it. Now I feel it and it bothers me. I've had to strongly defend myself. You can't touch my dignity. I am Fanida, I'm Moroccan, and I'm proud of it. This work is dedicated to Nabruka Mimouni, dead by suicide in the Center for Identification and Expulsion of Rome in 2009.